What's going on, virtual homies? Welcome to the first ever video on this Virtual Moose channel. My name is Pete, and I hope you enjoyed that little Quest 3 unboxing segment at the start of the video. So I've had the Quest 3 for about 2 weeks now. I got it shortly just after its launch or its release date. And I know there's already a ton of really technical videos reviewing the Quest 3 from every possible angle, from people who are probably more competent than me, to be honest, in this space. But I thought I would still chime in and give my top 5 things that stood out to me coming from the Quest 2, moving on to the Quest 3 over the first 2 weeks of using it, and the things that I think are going to at least jump out or stand out the most to the average Quest user, especially those coming from the Quest 2, but just anyone really who is getting into the Quest 3 for the first time. So without further ado, point number 1, the pass-through. So you've probably seen, if you've looked into the Quest 3 at all, a lot of people talking about the incredible pass-through. And I would have to both agree and disagree with a lot of the sentiments on the pass-through out there. Now, a lot of the videos you see, and it's no fault of the video creators, a lot of the videos you see online on YouTube of the pass-through will look a lot clearer than it actually looks in the headset. And so I'll show you my pass-through footage now, and bear in mind this is taken in my room with no studio lights, just kind of a normal bedroom light, and it does look a lot clearer on screen now than it does in the headset. If you basically take what you're looking at now, add like a filter of grain over the top of it, and it's also kind of, it's as if it's slightly out of focus. It's like the camera's almost focused, but hasn't quite focused, and that's kind of where it stays. That's what it looks like in the headset. Now, all that being said, it does still look amazing, especially coming from the Quest 2. It's a night and day difference. The Quest 2, I never used the pass-through for basically anything. Quest 3, it is a lot more enjoyable to use the pass-through, even just for generally navigating the menus and things. I kind of prefer to be in my own room so I can see my surroundings and have those screens overlaid, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way. You have to jump in to use it. It's both disappointing but also impressive at the same time. If you're expecting to see what you see on these YouTube videos in your headset, you're going to be disappointed. I was a little bit like that to start with, but once I got used to it and adjusted to it, it is really good and miles better than the Quest 2. Point number 2, and this is not one I've seen a lot of people talk about, so maybe it's just a me thing, but the controller haptics really jumped out to me as being improved. The controllers overall have improved a lot, but I know a lot of people have spoken about that. The lack of the rings makes it so much easier to kind of do things in VR, especially if you're like reloading guns and things like that. You don't get those rings clashing into each other. It's just so refreshing. But the haptics really stood out to me as a big improvement. And the best way I can describe it is they are more punchy. They feel more like physical clicks as opposed to kind of vibrations. When you're, navigating menus and things, but they just feel really punchy, stronger, and more kind of intentional than on the Quest 2. I am a big fan of the haptics. I've been using it for 2 weeks, and they still, whenever I go to the Quest 2 and then jump back to the Quest 3, it's like one of the first things I notice when you're shooting guns and things like that in the games. Point number 3 is the graphics. Now, it goes without saying that the Quest 3 is going to have vastly improved graphics over the Quest 2, and having those pancake lenses, not having to search for the sweet spot like you used to do on the Quest 2, is so much nicer. It's very refreshing, and it really adds to the immersion of not feeling like you're wearing goggles where you have to kind of look around. But that being said, if you've been watching these online side-by-side comparisons showing the Quest 2 on one side and then the Quest 3 graphics on the other side, don't expect to see that in your headsets right off the bat, because you will be disappointed. Those side-by-side comparisons are basically showcasing what is to come. The developers still need to make the changes to the existing games to allow them to take advantage of the new hardware in the Quest 3 to get those kinds of graphical improvements. So when you immediately put on the headset, you're going to see things looking clearer because of the pancake lenses. You are going to see certain games looking sharper. However, and this is in particular if you're used to boosting your graphics like I am on the Quest 2, when you move to the Quest 3 without any enhancements, you are likely going to maybe not be disappointed, but you won't see as much of a dramatic difference in the graphics. However, if you then go onto the Quest 3 and do the same on the Quest 3, go into Side Quest and kind of max out all of your graphic settings there, then you'll start to see more of a significant difference between the Quest 2 and the Quest 3. So I'm just trying to manage expectations here. I know I kind of was a bit naive and was expecting things to immediately be like a night and day difference. And if you do that, you could be a little bit disappointed. However, setting your expectations and going into the Quest 3 and understanding that it is only really going to get better from here, I do believe the best is yet to come when it comes to the graphics. Point number 4 is the mixed reality. Now, this is something I didn't even really consider when purchasing the Quest 3 headset. I was all about, upgrading my virtual reality headset. But when I started seeing other YouTubers posting their experiences on mixed reality, that started to kind of pique my interest and get me a little bit excited about it. So I actually jumped in when I got my Quest 3, immediately went into some mixed reality to try out some of the experiences there, and what I found was both good and bad. So we've already spoken about the pass-through quality. It's not going to be as crystal clear as your eyes, or like a lot of the things that you've seen on a lot of the videos you've seen on YouTube. However, once you're kind of immersed in it and doing things, the clarity or the lack of clarity, it becomes less of an issue as you're kind of really kind of in your own environment and seeing, the walls fall apart, the ceiling fall apart, and all these kind of creatures around your real environment. That kind of, I guess, captures your interest, and you kind of forget about the slight graininess and the fact that things are slightly out of focus in the background, because you're focused on the things that are jumping at you in the foreground, which are in focus, if that makes any sense. But the issue I had with the mixed reality is not about how it actually performed. I thought it was really cool, and I really was looking for more experiences, but that's when I hit an issue, and it's that there is not a lot of free mixed reality experiences available on the Quest App Store. I looked around, and there are a fair few paid experiences which do look promising, but the issue is I feel a lot of people are still yet to be sold on mixed reality, and dropping, like £10, £15 on a mixed reality experience that you might not even enjoy. You don't even know if you like mixed reality as a thing to start with. That's quite a big ask for a lot of people who might be, preferring to save their gaming budget for games they know they will enjoy in VR. So I feel like it's a bit of a responsibility for Meta, if they're really trying to push mixed reality with their new headsets, that they need to provide more experiences for free that people can try out and really kind of hook them into mixed reality. Because at the moment, like I said, I did their, first experience, first something, where you have the laser guns shooting around your room and the aliens are trying to come in. Great experience. I wanted more. Because there isn't much more that I can do for free, I have ended up kind of leaving mixed reality behind and just resuming my usual VR activities until something good and free comes along, and I'll give that another go. Also, just as an aside, I am very curious to know your thoughts on mixed reality. I know it's quite a split topic. There are a lot of people who are very excited and say it is the future, and there are a lot of people who really don't care at all about it. Curious to know what you've tried in mixed reality and your thoughts on it, so let me know in the comments. Me personally, I am excited for mixed reality. I just don't think there's much to do with it at the moment, and I think that's a bit of a shame on Meta's part. I feel like they could have done a lot more to build some excitement for MR just by providing more experiences that are accessible to everyone. The final point I want to talk about, point number 5, it's the big one. It's been talked about a lot on YouTube already, and that is the battery life. So there's a bit of an issue with the Quest 3's battery life. It's become apparent fairly quickly after people have been using their headsets for a week or two and realizing that they are hardly getting even 2 hours of gameplay out of it before having to recharge it. Now, usually I tend to play with my headset plugged in. I've usually played most of my VR games in the Quest 2 with it plugged in with like a 3-meter long cable, and that has not been an issue for me. I have not had my headset die while it's been plugged in. It either, depending on what I'm doing with it and whether I have kind of all the graphics and things boosted, it will either stay the same, slowly decrease, or sometimes even actually continue to very slowly charge while plugged in while I'm playing. With the Quest 3, however, plugging it in and playing doesn't do much to kind of stop it from dying. I literally had a session last night where I was at 20% battery. I plugged it in, continued my session, and only got I don't know, but I didn't get much longer out of it. My headset died a few minutes after I plugged it in at 20%. Now, bear in mind, I have gone into SideQuest and boosted every possible setting I could to the max, so that does decrease battery life, and they do tell you that. So if you are really concerned about battery life and you're kind of pushing it to the limits, if you don't necessarily need maximum graphics and all of that, you can tone things down a little bit to extend your battery life, but it is, regardless, quite a big issue. Trying to keep people in VR or in MR playing your games is quite a challenge when the headset is dying all the time. Even I've not got a special head strat. I know the Bobo VR battery packs have been highly rated before, but even those are struggling to keep up with the Quest 3's battery or power consumption. So I do think it's a big issue. Hopefully it can be improved upon in future through software updates. And my hope is I'm holding off until we maybe get a better battery solution that can really handle the Quest 3's power consumption, and then I may invest in a battery pack head strap. But for the time being, I do feel it is a real issue that the headset is dying quickly even after plugged in to the mains. Battery packs are one thing, but plugging it into the mains should pretty much ensure that your headset doesn't die while you're playing it. So we'll have to wait and see for that. So that's been it for my top 5 things that stood out to me over my first 2 weeks of using the Quest 3. I'm curious to know what things stood out to you the most if you've got a Quest 3 when you put it on and just jumped in, especially if you're coming from a Quest 2. What are the things that you noticed and that you cared about the most moving on to the Quest 3? If you've not got a Quest 3 or any VR headset, what are you most excited about with the Quest 3? Or are you not? You're not interested? You're looking for a different headset? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you very much for joining me on my first ever video on the Virtual Moose channel. I will be moving country in just a couple weeks' time, so I'll hopefully have a newer, better setup than I currently do. So stay tuned for more videos from me, and also if there's anything else you want to see on this channel, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video and you would like to see more, I really appreciate helping the channel grow by hitting the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video.